Company can liquidate in two ways: compulsory liquidation and then voluntary liquidation. Liquidation is always the last answer available, but you don't want to go to that step unless and until you have no signs of recovery coming out. Now, the resolution professional handling the corporate insolvency process can act as a liquidator unless and until it is replaced by adjudicating that particular person or the authority altogether. Good morning and welcome to the first session in Unit 5, second semester BCom, Company Law and Practice, where we're going to talk about the liquidation of the company. Being the last unit and the last session in terms of the company law, we have come to the situation where we're going to understand what happens when a company is completely liquidated. That means the company is completely sold off in terms of its assets. Now, what is liquidation? Closing down of a company and dividing its assets to the creditors and owners. It's also called as winding up or dissolution, with dissolution being the final stage of liquidation. Now, the word winding up, that means to say that they are going to close the company has come to a bad situation, it's not able to function, too much of debts, so they have to repay their creditors, they have to repay their shareholders, they have to finish with what they have done. And that's why when I use that word dissolution, I'm dissolving the company with whatever it is, and this is the final conclusion of the company. So this is quite a very important phase, rather I would say a very serious situation where the company has to face a lot of questions, lot of challenges before the creditors, before the owners, because everybody is losing out money and the company now has to give it back to its shareholders. Now, the next thing is that company can liquidate in two ways: compulsory liquidation and then voluntary liquidation. Now, when I say the word compulsory liquidation, that means it is given by a regulatory authority. Now, who's the regulatory authority? The NCLAT, which means to say that the National Company Law Tribunal. These are the people who are going to come and they're going to talk about a compulsory retirement. They're going to say that, sir, the company is not working. It's better you have to liquidate. So there is a force, there is an authority that comes into picture, and they say that this is how you have to do it. So now what happens is that the forceful factor of liquidation comes into picture, by which you have to shut down the company. Now, voluntary liquidation, it is initiated by the company itself when it decides to shut down. Now, what is this factor all about? There are many times when a company might feel that I'm not in a position to continue working. I'm not in a position where I cannot afford myself to be there, to be at that particular level altogether. So what happens at that point of time? At that point of time, the company is looking to sell off its assets. The company is looking at a position where they want to finish off with all their retained chains and assets and everything. They want to sell off whatever they want. They know that they will not be able to function further, so they will sell their assets and give it off to your creditors and to the shareholders. Now, the IBC, when we are coming under that, the bankruptcy, that's the insolvency and bankruptcy code, it first prioritizes the business recovery. If no recovery plan is available, then liquidation is the last step. Now, many a times company would fail to recover, or the company might go under a severe loss. Now, most of the time, the company people will always have a plan B to come back. Now, why? Because you have taken a lot of effort in building the company. You don't want to just destroy the company which you have created. Liquidation is always the last answer available, but you don't want to go to that step unless and until you have no signs of recovery coming out. So what we do is that the insolvency and the the bankruptcy code comes back and tells you very clearly that is there a way how we can revive the company back? Now, let's take the example of Yes Bank. Yes Bank faced a lot of problems, losses because of the board of directors and the management, where they have lost thousands of crores of money. But then SBI stepped in with ordering Prashant Kumar taking over as the new CEO of the company. RBI brought in a regulator, and then people also started thinking that this bank can revive and come back. And today, Yes Bank is working, which means to say that it is easy to destroy a company but difficult to revive. But we always look for the difficult path. We want the company to get revived. We want a chance to be given to that company so that we don't go to the ultimatum path. So first we try to see how can we look for the recovery, and then we look to the last step of dissolution altogether. When can a liquidation order be passed? Now that's a very important question. So as we go further, the adjunctory authority, that's what the NCLAT, the NCLT, which we have been talking about, will start giving the order when they see that there is no recovery plan at all. That means with a given deadline we have been seeing for years together, the company is not making any progress at all, then automatically we say that this is the last chance. We can't do anything further, so we have to go for a dissolution altogether. Now, next thing is that after the dissolution, we also say the NCLT rejects the submitted recovery plan. Sometimes the company, just for the sake of survival, they come up with some temporary plans, or rather I would even use that it's an eyewash that has been presented before the NCLT, trying to say that we will come back, but ultimately nothing happens. So that's where we say that the NCLT would reject that submitted recovery plan. And then we come to the committee of creditor votes for liquidation. Suppose the creditors say that, sir, we can't keep waiting anymore. Enough is enough. Let us stop this and let's go for liquidation. Yes, NCLT goes in favor of the creditor and say, let's liquidate it. The corporate debtor fails to comply with the approved recovery plan. So they say that nothing is going to work on this part, and we are seeing that nothing is going to come into picture. So we go for a liquidation altogether. Now, the other thing that we have to see is the role of a liquidator. Now, a liquidator is appointed to manage the process. Who's going to do it? There is an authority who is going to appoint a person who's going to handle this entire process of liquidation. Now, the resolution professional handling the corporate insolvency process can act as a liquidator unless and until it is replaced by adjudicating that particular person or the authority altogether. So now what will happen? There is a professional person, the person who has certain amount of experience, knowledge in that particular area, has been asked to resolve things in that particular order, and it goes in that way. Why? Because they have been told how to take over, what needs to be done, how it needs to be done, and that person will act as that liquidator and try to resolve the entire process. Now, the next thing is that the liquidator will first sell all the assets of the company, distribute the proceeds to the creditors and the shareholders, follow the legal procedure. So what he would try to do is that first look into the company, see what are all the assets there, start selling those bigger assets first and then come to the smaller. So now we will go on the, the declining order altogether or the descending order, sell all the assets, distribute the money that we get to the creditors and shareholders, and follow all the legal procedures that are being told here. In some cases, they might sell the business as a going concern so the operations can continue under new company. Now, that's also possible. Why? Because certain people might feel that I am not capable of running the operation, but somebody else can take over the company's operation. So let me take over the entire business itself as what condition they are, and let's rerun the business. Let's start a new system altogether. So sometimes you might be even selling the business as a going concern itself. Now, with that, we also come to the concluding part of the system where we want to understand liquidation is the last resort where a company cannot be revived. Now, that's very, very important takeaway for you, which means to say that that's the end of the company. You are not able to bring it back. The process ensures fair distributions with the compliance with legal frameworks like the IBC. So under the bankruptcy code, we do this. understanding the liquidation process is very important. Why? Because for the creditors as well as the investors, they understand what is the underlying risk by investing in this company so that they are able to manage the financial risk better. So liquidation, as what we discuss in the papers or in the news, whatever we have read, it is not that it's an overnight step taken by somebody to just finish it off and say goodbye, but rather it's a very, very important process where you see that everybody gets back their fair amount for whatever risk they have taken to invest in this company. With this, I come to the end of the presentation. I hope and believe that all the process and the ideas that we have spoken in this unit will be of great help to you, both in terms of theory and practical walk of life. So with this session, I would conclude all the presentations regarding company law and practice for the second SEM BCom. I believe that all the videos that have been presented to you would have been of great help to you. Kindly make the best use of all these presentations and score well in your examination. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session.